Welcome to the Advancing the Kingdom podcast. We're streaming live on all social media platforms and podcast streaming channels. Get ready for a revelatory teaching from our apostle, Matthew Tillery.
Greetings. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Advancing the Kingdom podcast. I am your host, Apostle Matt Tillery. Listen, I'm very honored that you chose to join us on this great night. Going to go ahead and jump right into the podcast tonight. Listen, welcome to the Advancing the Kingdom podcast. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, sharing, and to those that's listening by way of all of the streaming podcast channels. We really appreciate you. Advancing the Kingdom podcast, where we are shifting mindsets with the truth, one podcast at a time. And listen, tonight it's going to be a very great night. Once again, I have my friend back. He's been on the podcast several times, and that's none other than Mr. Reuben Blackwell, President and CEO of the OIC in our great city of Rocky Mount. Also, he is a Rocky Mount City Councilman in Ward 2. So we really appreciate you, sir, coming back on the podcast again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, as always, and appreciate everyone who listens and supports you. You're doing a great thing, a great work in the city and in our region, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate that. Just really appreciate, once again, all that you are doing in the city of Rocky Mount. Let's go ahead and talk about, we'll start out with this conversation, but we may go somewhere else. But I've been seeing a lot of things about, there are some folk that's trying to, having a conversation around bringing the at-large voting back to Rocky Mount. Something happened in 1983 concerning that, right? It was a federal lawsuit that was filed under the Voting Rights Act by Legal Aid of North Carolina. And it was referred to as the Green versus the City of Rocky Mount. So we're seeing that conversation being brought back to the table here in 2026, which to me doesn't make sense. But hey, so what are your thoughts on that, and what are your feelings on that?
Well, first of all, my feelings are that it's part and parcel of a national movement to undermine the collective power of people who haven't had voices in specific places and spaces, certainly not majority voices,
right,
and certainly not voices that legislate and that lead in economic investment and development.
Right.
And even though there was given an opportunity by the Constitution, 14th Amendment, Section 2 and Section 3, which gave the Justice Department the ability to pre-clear voting districts that were truly representative of the spirit of the Constitution of the United States of America.
Right.
Which, even though it was designed by people who never intended Black people to participate,
right,
they were able to craft something. That's why I love the Holy Ghost. I'm telling you, people don't even know what they're doing, but God is still God.
God is still God.
And they crafted something that, even though Black people at the penning of the Constitution were only considered to be 3/5 of a human,
right,
which was to deny the full humanity of our race, of our ethnicity. First time historically in the dispensation of manhood, human beinghood, right. That a people were actually set aside and set apart because of the color of their skin. Right. That has never happened in history before.
Right.
And when the penners of the Constitution, the crafters of the Constitution, created that document that stated that all men were created equal, but then went on to define what a man was.
Right.
Right. That has been the discussion and the conversation not just in America, but from that point forward around the entire globe.
Right.
And go ahead.
Yeah. So let me put a comma right there.
Right.
Hold that.
Yeah.
But one of the most, to me, as a believer, one of the most damaging things with that is most of them, I would say, were proclaiming to be Christians that drafted that saying that blacks weren't fully, Dred Scott case, right?
Yeah. That's
so,
right.
so how can you call yourself a Christian, right, and draft that type of language? I'm still baffled by that alone.
Well, that's because you take your faith seriously.
Yeah.
And those people who live with a faith that connects them to eternity and to all powerful, all knowing, all ability enabled creator.
Right.
People who believe in that sincerely do not try to shape that creator in their image, but rather do what the scripture says is that we are created in his image. So some of that is just bad teaching.
Just bad theology.
It's bad theology. Some of that is manipulation.
A lot of it.
Some of that is ignorance.
A lot of it.
And some of that is intentionality to say, I must control my world. And if I don't control my world, then everything will be chaos.
Right.
Because somebody doesn't believe that there's really a God.
Right. Right.
And so, sir, I believe that you had people who wanted to keep black folk. It's no other way to say it. Everybody was not a slave. People
Right.
weren't enslaved because of the hue of their skin tone.
Right.
And their wealth depended upon free labor.
Right.
Their status depended upon that labor. And their political power depended upon the wealth that was created, because there was a system designed to take, steal, convert other people's assets into their assets, and even the ownership of their personhood.
Right.
And many people, and you got to think about this thing, it took systems to do that. It wasn't just America,
Right.
Remember, it was Portugal.
Right.
It was Spain. It was Germany. It was the Netherlands. It was France. It was Italy. It was everything in Europe.
Right.
That had bankrupted all of their resources.
Wow.
That had destroyed their lineages of their general population. Remember, everybody in England couldn't lead
Right.
the parliament because those people and every other monarchy
Right.
in Europe depended upon your birthright.
Wow.
You understand?
Wow.
So there was inbreeding to sustain birthright. There was decimation, intentional raiding of other people's lands and property because they consumed everything they had. They didn't generate more, and they had destroyed the mineral deposits of Europe, which is why they had to go find other stuff, other places.
Wow. Wow.
And that's what provoked the discovery, because they thought the world was flat, remember?
Right. Right.
Until they got to Africa. And then the inhabitants of Mali and Egypt introduced astrology to them
Right.
and helped them understand how the universe worked.
Right.
Introduced God to them.
Right.
I know it's going to shake some stuff up.
That's all right. The truth will make you
But
free.
on that continent, were created the three major religions of the earth,
Right.
Judaism, Islam, and then Christianity,
Right.
all birthed
Right.
on that continent,
Right.
and then spread abroad throughout the entire earth. So, getting back to redistricting, I have got to connect the dots so people understand,
Right. Right.
because what in Rocky Mount, there's something here in this city that tries to disconnect things from everything else that's taking place in America.
Right.
They try to disconnect things from everything that's taking place around the country, around the world. And we are all connected.
Right.
And believers in Christ know that we're all part of a body.
Right.
Right.
Right. All part of the body.
And it can't be a white Jesus, a black Jesus, an Asian Jesus. That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
So you got people creating a theology that says the simplest thing is to believe that everything is Eurocentric. Everything comes from Europe.
Right.
And so the inspiration, the knowledge, the wisdom must all point in one direction. And if it's not that, then there's something wrong with the way you think.
Right.
And that's the pressure that builds this society.
Right.
And so that was the pressure that the penners of the Constitution were operating under, because they felt that there was a mandate from God who had to be European.
Right.
And that if you weren't European, then you had no God-given rights.
Wow.
If you were an Aboriginal native in a place, it wasn't discovered until they put their foot there.
Right. Right.
There was no ownership. There were no nations.
Right.
Until they came.
Wow.
Ignoring the fact that this continent had been here as a landmass as long as the continent of Europe was there, as long as the continent of Asia was there, as long as every continent was there. The land, our theology says that the Lord created everything at the same time, right?
He didn't go back the next week to create something else, to create another country, right? And then the next week you created something else.
So all of that, it all goes back to this. It all goes back to this, is that most people create things to keep themselves in control and to ensure that systems are designed to steer assets to them at the disregard of others. And the anomaly that occurred with this Constitution is that there was something there in the Constitution that stated that the responsibility of the majority was to protect the interest of the minority.
Wow.
And that was built into the concept, even while people owned other people.
Right.
Even while there was an extreme deference given to Southern states.
Right.
Because the enslavement of a people made America very quickly the richest nation on the earth. We want to talk about America being the greatest nation, but we don't want to talk about the journey about how we got there.
It was a great economic impact because of us.
Yes, for hundreds of years, hundreds of years. So roll all that stuff that happened then, and people say, well, that was then, but this is now. Well, there's still that vein of thought.
And that spirit still drives.
It's
still trying to steer.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately,
right,
some of us are in the back seat.
Well, yeah, always in the back seat, given access to see through the mirror, see through the windshield when what they say supports those who really got their foot on the pedal and got their hands on the steering wheel, even when they're driving the vehicle over the cliff.
Wow.
And so in Rocky Mount, there is this call, and it's sort of amazing to me because I don't think they quite understand what it is they're trying to do. The call to dismantle the system that gave every community and neighborhood in Rocky Mount an opportunity to produce representatives of their own choice to represent their interests at City Council, to come together and then create policy that would benefit everyone.
Right.
That was the design behind the ward system in 1983. But it took a full 20 years to get to the opportunity being realized.
Wow.
Where
20 years.
20 years. It was 2003 when the fourth African American was elected to the Rocky Mount City Council, who was Angela Bryant, who ran against Walt Wiggins. And the negotiation for that neighborhood in Little Raleigh to be fully included as a neighborhood for the first time ever.
Right.
Little Raleigh had an opportunity to elect someone who lived in their district and would represent their interests.
Right.
And the way that the original districting occurred, I can't speak to myself. I can only regurgitate,
right.
What is in minutes. And I believe we're trying to work on a historical video that would, for the remainder of the people who live today, who were part of that,
right.
to explain and help us understand the history of it, Apostle. But the spirit of it is that on City Council today, we have 7 individuals who are all elected by districts that reflect neighborhood integrity, that reflect equal numbers of people. So you don't have more representation from one side of town than the other. You don't have more representation of a certain frame of mind or reference, but you do have representation across the entire city that says that we have the opportunity to concentrate on policy development that speaks to everybody's issue.
Right.
The reason folks want to go back to at large, because minority positions, minority populations who have a higher voter turnout,
right,
can now have the opportunity to override the will of people who live in individual districts who might be packed in
right.
certain neighborhoods and communities.
Right.
And the real issue, if you just break it down, tell the truth, and this is what people just need to stop lying about. They mad because Andre Knight keeps getting elected regardless of what they say. It ain't about nobody but Andre Knight.
But the people are re-electing him.
His constituents continue to reelect, and this is a mistake they're gonna make. You might mess up and get what you want. It's a mistake that the loudest people think they are the majority of the people.
Wow.
And there are people, and I lie not to you. I lie not to you, friend. And I have no reason to lie to you. I don't know you, but I don't tell a lie on purpose. I don't do that. But I tell you what, it's people all over this city who would love to have a chance to vote for Andre Knight. They might mess around. You might mess around and get a different kind of counsel that you just might not know. And this is what I trust, sir. I trust God.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir. Ultimately, right. Exactly.
Because what I do know is that public policy can't be crafted with a nefarious intent.
Right.
And this misrepresentation of what Rocky Mount is absolutely evil. And folk need to quit it.
Yeah.
Acting like there's been no progress.
Right.
When the documentation of the progress is in front of your face.
Right.
It's just that people choose not to see what does not affirm their worldview.
Wow. So let's talk about some of those things that has happened in Rocky Mount since you guys have been on the city council.
Yeah.
You have a Class 1 Rocky Mount Fire Department earn, which is a very rare protection class. Most it's only maybe 29,000 plus fire departments in the United States that functions with the NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, right? And out of those 29,000, it was only 0.2%, somewhere around 56 fire departments across the country that qualified. And Rocky Mount was one of those cities.
Yes.
So, I mean, to say that you all are not doing anything is really not, it's not fair and it's not true. The first city fire department, the first black occurred just recently, Corey Mercer, a few years ago.
Right.
So to say that,
and attained accreditation under his leadership.
Right. And not only that, some of the newer fire trucks that we're seeing now was under his leadership.
Yes.
And those things are nice with the black tires and the black, I mean, it's state of the art, but he saw ahead.
Right.
So and there, even when he came, since we're here, let's talk about this for a moment. But when he first came, the conversation was, and I worked at the fire department.
Okay.
When I left, I was the only black captain there. But I saw a lot of things. But when he came, Corey Mercer, the conversation was that the fire department would crumble.
Yes.
You know, it's going to collapse. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. It's going.
Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this, and let's talk about it, because some of you who are crafting the plans were in leadership at that time in that department.
Right.
And I watched, as a sitting council member, I watched standards change. Every time Corey got a degree, the standard would change.
Right.
Every time someone black got a certification, the standards would change.
Goalposts keep moving. Right.
And so this whole perspective of people being unqualified because of the hue and the tone of their skin, and not because of their character, their intellect, their experience, or their vision, made Rocky Mount a poorer place. Rocky Mount started to increase exponentially,
right,
when artificial barriers were removed and people were able to compete and be considered on a fair basis.
Right.
And having an accreditation is more than having a nice fire department.
Right.
It means that the insurance you purchase for your house is less expensive than in a community that is close to you that doesn't have the same accreditation that you have.
Right.
It affects insurance rates across our entire city.
And it also says that your city is safe.
Your city is safe. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
From the fire department perspective, it says your city is safe.
That's correct. And what I say to you, you know, I just want to talk about other things too. You know, people take, you know, they don't choose to see the fact that when in 2003, in fact, it was Helen Gay who, when I was appointed in 99, actually started working in 2000, right after the flood. And I was able to see things in a different kind of way. I didn't know what I didn't know. And that's most people. I get it. I really get it. People don't really know what these boards do until you're on the board or you really pay attention. You don't have a clue about all the things, the moving parts that it takes to make a city work.
Right.
Rocky Mount's been blessed for the most part with good leadership. And I can tell you that streets being paved, we had so many dirt roads. When 2003 came in, what Miss Gay left off, what we could not pay because we didn't have the money to pay them with.
Right.
The city council worked along with the city manager. We were very wise stewards with the city staff in building up fund reserves. And we ensured at every time we passed a budget that streets in inner city Rocky Mount that were dirt paths got paved.
Yeah.
So young people who just were born in the 90s.
Yeah, because I didn't know Swift Road was paved.
Right. See, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But think about that. Think about people born in the late mid 90s, 2000s. They've only seen paved streets.
Right.
So from their perspective, well, the street was always paved. Well, no, it wasn't.
Right.
It was a path.
Right.
You know, that was the argument that the manufacturer was making downtown on last Monday night about Gay Street. Right. You know, being a 9-foot wide path. And he's like, why are you going to do this to us? This is our primary area. But they don't see the fact, and you don't remember, do you? Or some people don't want to remember that inner city Rocky Mount from 2003 all the way up to about 2015, we had all kinds of open, dilapidated housing in our communities. All kinds of dilapidation.
Right.
Open air drug markets everywhere in the inner city.
Right.
It would break people's hearts to see what had happened to their property.
Right.
And even though it's taken years to be able to create policy that has torn down houses, try to save as much as we could. But then we had all kinds of open neighborhoods, open land. We've tried to bring housing in. We've worked aggressively with the housing authority to make things happen. The paving, the widening. Does anybody remember the widening of Grand Avenue, Fairview Road?
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Do y'all remember that? See, you take it for granted. You scream about it. You want it. And when it happens, then you want to act like the people who were there didn't do it. I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Right.
And so some people don't want you to see that.
Wow.
And what I'm going to say is that the demise of the budget occurred not with Andre Knight in leadership, not with Reuben Blackwell in leadership, and not with Richard Joyner in leadership. So you want to now eradicate an entire system instead of just sending people who represent your interest and who pay attention and who create policy that speaks to what you need. Now, you better look at the folk who are leading the effort to say, dismantle what we have in Rocky Mount because it's not working. Through whose lens is it not working?
Right.
How many people have had their homes fixed, roofs repaired?
Yeah, I was just looking at some of that earlier today. So a lot of homes has been completely repaired because of some of the things you all had going on.
Yeah, when we came there, the manager at that time and the mayor at that time told me to my face, housing is not the responsibility of the city.
Wow.
That's what was said.
Wow.
And I spoke back and I said, if it's not the city's responsibility, then whose is it? If that's where our tax rates are being set by, if that's where the people who live in our borders live, whose responsibility is it then?
Right. Right.
And by having representatives from neighborhoods, that it makes a difference who your neighbors are.
Right.
Sir, it makes a difference who you live around.
Right.
It makes a difference who you move around with, because that helps shape your thinking about what's important and what's needed.
Right. Right.
And if you have an at-large system, that means politics is really just going to be about who can put the most money in the campaign, who can do the slickest, cleanest, social media stuff, and who has the most charisma across the whole city that can get somebody to believe in them. But I guarantee you, you're going to get a skewed picture unless the Lord says something different.
And technically, you could have 6, 7 people living on the same street.
On the same street.
No, help that makes sense.
Help that makes sense. Yeah, this was going to be because I'm saying now, you want to dismantle something, but you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
You don't know what you're going to get. And God has a sense of humor, you know. And so this is what I'm going to say. You know, Knight was prophetic when he said there is a strong wind blowing, and it's blowing even stronger when it is defined and identified. But it doesn't mean that if strong winds blow, it accomplishes all that it's sent to do. The only thing that does that is the word.
Wow.
And what I do know is that, and this is advancing the kingdom, right?
Yes, sir.
So, you know, what we should all be doing, all people who, and this unapologetically Christian,
Right.
you know, I respect all faiths. I respect people who say they have no faith, which to me takes the most faith of all to have no faith.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
I think the most powerful people of faith are atheists, because I don't know how in the world you close your eyes at night, how you move without wondering what in the world. This, you know, I don't know. It takes a lot of faith to be an atheist, but I believe in Jesus Christ. And what I do believe is that if we are sincere about our faith, then we should be praying, what is the assignment that God has given to me to accomplish what end on the earth for which he's assigned me for this period of time.
Right.
And I really strain and struggle to see how it's faith that leads a person to concentrate everything on one individual. That's why even with, you know, policies that come down from Washington that I don't favor personally, but I got to deal with them because it's the country that I'm part of.
Right.
I might not like what I see, but I'm not praying for the demise of my country because this is my country.
Right.
You understand that?
Right.
I don't understand people who pray for the demise of Rocky Mount because this is the place where you live.
Right.
And you want devastation to come selectively, but the scripture says it rains on the just and the unjust. We just got to figure out which category we're in.
That's certainly an individual check. We need to, that's a great point. We need to know which one we're in.
Know where you are, because the rain is coming. The prophet done said it's a strong wind blowing. It's gonna rain. It's gonna rain.
Wow.
And so, you know, all I say is this, man. I'm beginning to hold things a little loosely, more loosely than I have before. Because I cannot concentrate on the plans of people and try to checkmate. It's been distressing.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. It's been distressing as a human being, right, as a person, brother, to see, you know, you dedicated your life to build something for people who hadn't had a voice. You've represented what people have told you, the things that you've witnessed with your eyes, the stories that have been communicated to you. And you try to make a living for yourself through the midst of it. You haven't done anything to harm anyone. You've done things.
Nor have you broken the law.
Nor have you broken the law. And you continue to put yourself in a place of vulnerability on purpose for a pittance.
Wow.
And someone spoke to me today. They said, Councilman, they said, we see what's going on. We see what's going on. And we don't understand everything, but we know who you are. Stay strong. We got you.
Yeah.
That meant more to me than anything.
Yeah.
But the revelation that came to me, when you take out the fighters who fight for you, then you got to fight for yourself.
Wow. Now that's a revelation right there. That's a revelation.
So people who are uncomfortable even about what the fight is, who sit on the sideline and hold their mouth silent, wanting to be friends with everyone, which is no problem. I don't have an issue with friendship. This is about public policy.
Right.
I stand for public policy. That's the purpose of the elected official, is to create policy.
Right.
And to manage budgets.
Right.
And what I can say is that you have to look to your leadership about management and policy development. What I can say, when we had a majority, and I don't mean an ethnic majority, a majority of thought,
Right.
a majority of policy,
Right.
a majority of strategy that was synced to help upbuild communities that were overlooked and strengthen those places that already were cooking with grease.
Right.
You know, it doesn't do Rocky Mount any good for affluent communities to not prosper.
Right.
But the prosperity of affluence is diminished when you don't have it equally spread out in every place.
Right. Right.
And if the only reason you're prospering is because I'm not, doesn't mean you're prospering.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful. Very powerful. Oh man, there's some good stuff tonight. The city has just all the audits appears to be completed now. It's time for this to move forward. What?
Oh, they got another audit coming, because what they call it, Trump derangement syndrome. It's a night Blackwell OIC derangement syndrome. So they didn't call the auditor back. The auditor back is now looking at grants because somebody is certain OIC and Reuben Blackwell and Andre Knight had taken some money they shouldn't have had. And I see all this garbage of, it's amazing how people take little pieces of information that they glean on public records that they go searching and finding and looking for, and they put these little stories together which are absolutely not true.
Wow.
And I get exhausted trying to explain, but at some point my attorney said, look, let them talk and let them keep talking.
Right.
Because one day the talk will come home.
Right. Right.
Right. But we just going to keep building. That's all I can do.
Keep building, sir. Keep building. And I understand the humanity side in all of us, right?
Yeah.
It frustrates us sometimes, and we get tired sometimes.
Yeah.
Even Jesus, he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. He said, look, take this cup off of me. Take it away from me if it's possible, right?
Yeah.
He was on the cross. Father, why hast thou forsaken me?
Right.
Because at that time, he was in his flesh.
Yeah.
And we all, you just constantly being bombarded all the time about something. It affects you physically and mentally. And that's why I believe that it's very important that we have a prayer mode, for leadership. We have to pray for you guys.
Thank you.
I'm not part of the city council. I'm not part of the government in the city. But I do know one thing. I know some of the great things that you all have done. And it's a shame that even some of the people that they have benefited from a lot of things that has happened. And now they have amnesia.
It can't be amnesia because it is in your face. Amnesia is something that you can stack in the back of your mind and pretend that, no, it's in your face every time you get in your car and turn a key, when you go to your properties, when when your child is not in jail, when you have a job, when your lights, you flip the switch and it's still on, even though you hadn't paid everything that you needed to pay, because we worked to create a system that was lenient and that gave grace, because we stated that Rocky Mount, it was data. Rocky Mount for years, 60, 70 years, has been one of the most challenged economies in the state of North Carolina. And it was in 2003 when the movement began to make sure that we had collection policies that were more lenient and gave people time to pay. But now, because of the voice of the wind that's blowing and the context that certain people are so easily setting up to point out every little thing that is not correct, and people not taking inventory of how good God has been to us in Rocky Mount, you will lose what you gained. And it's not going to hurt. I'm going to tell you something. If people think the worst thing that can happen to me is not being on city council, y'all better think again. It's a calling I'm trying to fulfill. And when the calling is done, I'll be happy to go.
Well, not only that, I was, one of the things that I was thinking about too, there are some things, that you can do off that you can't do now.
Absolutely.
And, we'll talk about it later.
Yes, sir. And trust me, I'm playing it. I just want you to know it's the Lord allowed me life.
If they knew what I know, they would keep you on it.
Yes, sir. But
but hey,
it's up to the Lord and the people. Like I said, whatever this wind is, I'm just gonna say this: some of y'all ain't got the brightest minds in the game, and I don't know why people follow dim lights. I don't know. You have to answer that question for yourself. But what I can say is this, is that there's more to what you see than what you're being focused on. It's interesting. There's a person that comes and inventories downtown properties, who revels in showing dilapidated buildings in downtown,
right,
and tries to state that that's the state of all downtown,
right.
That same person doesn't even live in Rocky Mount. She doesn't even live in Rocky Mount.
Wow.
But I go to cities all over this nation, and every city got places that need to be fixed up.
Yeah, I don't know of any that doesn't.
There is no such thing.
I haven't seen no cities in the United States, and I've gone to a lot of cities.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any that didn't
have fixing up somewhere. And at least we understand, why Rocky Mount's downtown has looked the way it's looked. It was a policy. It was an innovation move, really. At the beginning, it was because somebody had foresight to create an indoor mall, the first indoor mall in the state of North Carolina. Happened in Rocky Mount. That's creative, innovative. And so people ran to the innovation. But what they didn't want to run to is the innovation that other people created.
Right.
Which says that you value knowledge and wisdom only from certain sources. You got to check yourself on that, not me.
Wow.
So, bro, I'm getting freer by the minute. I'm getting freer by the minute, because what I'm understanding is that God is in control of everything.
Right.
And if people are out of step, it's because they're not listening to the Holy Spirit. If I am out of step, it's because I'm not listening to the Holy Spirit. But this is what I'm going to say to you. What's the definition of a prophet? How does the Lord say, a prophet? In the scripture,
right,
it says that if a prophet says something and it happens, then that's a prophet.
Right.
And so all I know is that, I am thankful and grateful to the Lord that I can say I have had a life that God has affirmed.
Yeah.
Whether a vote or a support is given or not given, it's okay as long as I walk with heaven.
Right.
And I say to my brother Knight, stay strong, stay focused, keep your spiritual ears open, and let your mouth speak whatever the Lord say to speak. People hollered when Jesus spoke because the demons couldn't take the sound of his voice. And it's amazing. And I'm sitting here, Apostle, I'm telling you, I sit here and I sit on that dais and I watch and I listen. And I try not to judge in a harsh manner, because the scripture says, judge now that you be not judged, because the measure of a judgment that you give, it will be measured back to you again. So I don't want to be a hypocrite.
Right.
I do not want to be a hypocrite. But I look and I see how other people can talk and no one will say a word. But when Andre Knight opens his mouth up, people start hollering and saying stuff and acting like it's okay to do that with him.
Right.
They did that to Jesus.
Yep.
All this stuff, man, I'm eager to see how the Lord's going to have it play out. All I can say is buckle up your seatbelts. It's going to be a ride.
Yeah, I sense some things coming to this city that will even shake some more things. And there are a lot of things that's happening. And most of the things that's happening is not God ordained. It's a lot of systems and structures that's being attacked. I went downtown, and I wish I could put it. I do have a picture of it, and I'll show it to you later. I'll share it later with you. But this spiritual warfare. It's a lot of spiritual warfare that's happening in the city. A lot of things that's happening. The majority of what's happening now, excuse me, is spiritual warfare. And that's why it's the purpose and the reason why God have you all where you are.
Yes, sir.
It's strategic. And no matter what's happening with all the audit, the whatever is still going on, God is still in charge.
God is in control.
I don't care about how much noise is being made. God is still in charge.
He is.
So, brother, you and Councilman Knight and anybody else, keep your heads lifted up. God is not done yet.
God is not done yet. And what's the Mother Price taught us all a song at Unity of Faith, Pastor Sharon and the late Pastor Chris. God's not dead. He's still alive.
Yes, sir.
God is not dead. He is still alive.
Yes, sir.
And I can tell you something, man. I am just returning from a trip to Birmingham, Alabama. And I saw the most moving and compelling reason for me to gird my loins again and get ready for another fight in 16th Street Baptist Church.
Wow.
Where 4 little girls lost their lives in Sunday school, worshiping Jesus and learning about his word. And good Christian men blew the church up. One of them, a fireman hired by the police chief, Bull Connor. And they called the gentleman's nickname Bomber.
Wow.
And was even stated by Bull Connor that he didn't know if he could put a fire out, but he had other skills.
Wow.
Birmingham was called Bombingham.
Wow.
Because that was the strategy of the enemy.
Yeah.
But for all of that, I can say for all of that, for all that they did, those people are not heralded as heroes today.
Wow.
Their names are not spoken with honor and with respect. And the Birmingham airport is named today after one of the most effective civil rights leaders that the nation ever seen, Fred Shuttlesworth Jr.
Wow.
So today you go to Birmingham, Alabama, you go to the Birmingham Shuttlesworth Airport.
Wow.
And I'll say to you that people who are opposing a just and an equitable society, you might win a skirmish, but you will lose the war, because the kingdom of heaven shall be established on this earth. And the kingdom is not for certain classes. It's for all people who respond to the call, the will of God.
Right.
And God will allow some things, but he ain't going to change how he feels about his earth, because this ain't our earth.
Right.
The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof.
Right.
The world and they that dwell therein.
Right.
We just here for a limited amount of time. But I'm going to tell you something. God's plans are big for Rocky Mount. Rocky Mount, you have no idea how important you are to the rest of America, because more of America looks like Rocky Mount than it looks like Raleigh. More of America looks like Rocky Mount than it does look like Charlotte or LA or New York. There are more Rocky Mounts and more overlooked, underestimated places and people in this country and in the world than anywhere. And if we can do some significant things here, it can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
And I believe that it will, sir.
I believe it will also. I rode downtown. I don't see empty buildings. I see downtown flourishing like it was flourishing when I was a little boy coming on Douglas Block.
Right.
People everywhere.
Everywhere. And it's happening for everybody. I'm just saying, it's what you choose to look at. I look at our young people. We got kids who are brilliant, who are becoming entrepreneurs. Let me tell you, can I tell a quick story?
Yes, sir.
About the hospital, since y'all want to talk about the hospital so bad. Let me tell you my story about the hospital. First of all, that renovation is so phenomenal. I am so blessed that the Lord has allowed us to be able to own that sacred piece of property, because it was the only place in Rocky Mount that Black children could be born in, that Black people could be taken care of. It was separate and it was not equal, but at least the space was there for somebody to care about.
Wow.
And even though it's fallen into disrepair, that's why there's an OIC. That's why there was a Knight family and a white family that was able to purchase it and hold it until somebody had the resources to pull it together. And just so you think that we set it up, my friend, the bank set the value. Because that's what you have to do in a new market tax credit.
You guys are not appraisers, are you?
We are not appraisers. And we needed the money. We didn't have the money, but we had the acumen, that means the wisdom and the know-how to get it done. We had a history of accomplishment. That means we've had success over generations of time. And we had the confidence of the lenders who applied federally recognized and approved standards to this project. And trust me when I tell you, we got batteries of attorneys. Bring it on.
And also anything that's related to the OIC and so forth, you guys don't vote on it.
No. He in the discussion night, I'm just saying, even in the OIC, we're a private, not-for-profit organization. You know, we don't have to tell everybody our business.
Right.
And we don't. But I have a board that's a real board. They have real integrity.
Right.
So those issues that were potential conflicts were disclosed, and then there was no discussion.
Right.
And no vote even internally.
Right.
Understand?
Right.
Why are you slow thinking people think that we would not have done that? That's why I look at the stuff on Facebook and I'm like, who are these people?
Oh, they must think you all just don't have no clue what you're doing.
Right. How do you think we even got to where we are? And I'm not saying that mistakes can't be made, but there's no nefarious intention. I digress. I want to skip to the end. So, you know, we believe in training people who want to be trained. And so we have our construction trades class, we have construction trades company, and we work with subcontractors.
We're supposed to be talking about OIC tonight.
That's right. See, that's right. But I got to do this because it all ties together. You know, so, you know, I was walking some bankers through the property so they could see the investment that they were making. They were astounded by the quality of the work. We haven't begun construction yet, but we had to go through a full-scale demolition and remediation of all those things that were unsafe. And in every step of the way, we have trained our young students. So here I am standing in a group of 5 or 6 young men, young Black men, between the ages of maybe 19 to 23, 24. And I asked them, I said, why are you working on this project? And one young man said, well, I don't have children.
Right.
He said, but one day, I'm about to cry because that thing hit my heart.
Yeah.
He said, one day I'm going to tell my son, this is what I did.
Wow. Wow.
This is what I did. Other young men started telling me their design and their desire, why they wanted to participate and work with OIC.
Right.
One young man told me, you know, Mr. Blackwell, he said, you know, a lady several months ago stood across the street and was screaming at us. I said, who are you talking about? I don't know who she was. She was a white lady. And I said, well, what was she saying? That's that building Andre Knight owns. Y'all work for Andre Knight. How much is he paying you? She was screaming. And he said, we were looking at each other. And they said, well, who is Andre Knight? They said, we work for OIC. They said, OIC owns this property, ma'am. And we love OIC. So I'm just trying to tell you, y'all, stop being crazy. You showing you're crazy now. You showing you're crazy. And we got behavioral health that can help you with that. In fact, we're going to deal with some addiction. There's some people are addicted to stuff, and we want to help them there. So come on and get yourself free.
Come on and get yourself free.
Get yourself free.
Wow, man. Powerful conversation tonight. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on. Always appreciate you, the knowledge and wisdom that you bring to this
Thank
table.
you for having me, sir. I just want to say to you, it's got to be a test of your faith. And I know, you know, a lot of people will smile and they will say little niceties or they look away irritated. But I'm not crazy either.
Yeah,
I know you have taken heat.
Yeah.
And I want to say thank you for being willing to take the heat.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say to my people, I ain't going nowhere till the Lord send me there. And when he sends me there, it's going to be all right. You know, but we're going to stand strong together. Thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, when the Lord brought me out of the pulpit and gave me this platform, he told me, you're going to have some conversations that's going to be out of the box. Yeah. It's not going to be normal as we see it. And I thought all the Advancing the Kingdom podcasts, I thought they would be, you know, in camp like sermons and stuff like that, right?
Yes, sir.
But he started gradually, and we do Sunday morning, so we still do that.
Right.
But Monday nights have shifted tremendously.
Yes.
And now he's allowing me to have different conversations about different things. But you can't be scared if you're going to advance the kingdom.
That's right.
Now, if you're scared, stay home and stay tucked in wherever. But if you're going to advance God's kingdom in the earth, particularly in the times that we're in now, you cannot be afraid. You have to do what the Lord is telling you to do.
Yes.
So the question I leave with you tonight, are you ready to do what our ancestors did in terms of standing up for justice? Are you ready to do it? Because you're going to be talked about. You're going to take some hits.
Yes, sir.
Look what.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I even look back. I'm 69, but I can look at my grandfather and grandmother.
Yes.
And see some of the things they went through.
Yes.
They took hits.
Yes.
So, you know, you have to ask yourself, I mean, you just going to be pretty on Sunday mornings and just preach a good, pretty sermon? No, we have to get, we are in some challenging times. We're in some changing times.
Yes. And
if you don't allow your voice to go forth down for justice and what's right, then, you know, what good are you?
What good?
That's the way I feel.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, sir. I'm just going to say this, Apostle. I'm going to be like Joshua, who saw the promise and did not stagger at the prospect of the enemy. And I'm going to say to those of us who are engaged in the fight that we're going to put those stones in the middle of the river to remind the generations after us about how God made the waters heap up and made wet places dry for them to walk through their opposition. Psalm 23 is real every day. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. God is with us, sir.
Wow. Now, we might get to preaching on that tonight before we go on there.
Amen.
Oh, wow. Man, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a great conversation tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Reuben Blackwell, Rocky Mount City Councilman in Ward 2. He is also president and CEO of the OIC here in our great city of Rocky Mount. Listen, if you're over on Facebook, go ahead and hit the share button. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you're on YouTube, if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the ML Tillery Outreach. And if you're listening by any of the podcast streaming channels, we really appreciate all of the downloads. We've gone into about 25 different countries,
Right.
So we really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Listen, I'm Apostle Matt Tillery. Until next Monday at 7 p.m., go and advance the kingdom.
We pray you have been empowered and blessed by this teaching. Join us next week for the Advancing the Kingdom podcast. If you would like to reach us, email us at mltillery@icloud.com.
Understand.